Items, I've received notification of none. So we come to item number 9, the Independent Maori Statutory Board, the proposed funding agreement for the 2021-22 financial year. So I'll ask James Stevens and Alistair Cameron to come to the table, please. And just so that we have got that on record, maybe I'll ask Councillor Philippina to move and Councillor Dalton to second that. And James, you're going to lead.
Thank you, and kia ora koutou katoa. This report is to approve the proposed IMSB funding agreement for the 2021-22 financial year. The total operational funding sought in the proposal is 3.025 million, and this represents a zero total increase in funding from each of the past 2 financial years. In addition to this operational funding, the IMSB and Council will jointly commission 2 projects which will address Māori representation in local government and a review of expenditure on Māori outcomes. These 2 projects have a combined budget of 150,000 and are not part of the 3.025 million OPEX budget. I'd like to invite any questions.
Thank you very much. Also acknowledge Anna, who's come to the table. So this is the same level that the Independent Maori Statutory Board received last year and the previous year, and it's in line with the parameters that we've agreed in the 10-year budget, so not hugely controversial, I take it. So are there any questions? Councillor Wayne Walker.
Yeah, I've just got a question in terms of the expenditure. How do the lines of responsibility and accountability work in terms of oversight? Do any of those lines go to council, or is it alternatively something that sits with the board of the IMSB?
Through the chair, I think the key thing here is the first letter of the acronym Independent Maori Statutory Board. It's not our responsibility to monitor their performance.
I think, if I can just add to the other part of that question, they are audited in the same way as we're audited, so there is accountability, but not to us. Sure.
So I guess my question just goes to the usual parameters that we apply to ourselves around value for money, efficiency and effectiveness, and the like. How do those sorts of things apply to the expenditure via the IMSB?
Through the Chair, thank you for the question. We really appreciate the way the Independent Māori Statutory Board has managed to keep within its budgets over the past 2 years and hold the budget lines to a nil increase, and that reflects the careful management of the budget that they have.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, are there any comments? I will then move the. Put the recommendation. Sorry. Oh, Deputy Mayor Cashmore. Sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm easily missed. I'm a little wee fella. Just thanks, James, for the report, and thanks, team, for the negotiations with the IMSB. I would note, Mr. Mayor, the responsibility of the IMSB. They've been retained within budgets right the way through since inception. They've been audited by the Office of the Auditor General and run the same sort of accountability clauses that we face as a council. And the relationship between the IMSB and this council, I think, is improving. And we're getting a greater degree of achievement and delivery of the CAPEX and OPEX budgets so that the IMSB can do its work and we can do our work in accelerating the outcomes for Māori across Tamati Makaurau. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, and my apologies for overlooking you. Right, if there's no other comments, I'll put the recommendations that they are to approve the funding agreement, to approve variations to no more than 50,000, and to note the agreement will be signed by the Mayor, the Chair and the Chief Executives. So all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I declare that carried. Next item on the agenda is item number 10, which is in relation to decision-making responsibilities of Auckland Council's governing body and local boards. So welcome Shirley Coots to the table. Again, so we have the recommendation on the record, which is to approve the policy and to confirm the allocation of decision-making responsibilities. So I'll ask somebody to move that. Councillor Newman, and seconded by Councillor Henderson. Shirley, if you'd like to speak to the paper, please.
Katoa, Your Worship and Council, I thought I'd make some opening remarks. This report is on the review of an existing policy. So it's a policy you've had and we've looked at and tweaked over the years. The crux of it is the allocation of non-regulatory decision-making of non-regulatory activities of the council, but we use the same policy to record standing delegations from yourself to local boards and also outline what statutory responsibilities that sit with between yourself and local boards for the public. So there's a one-stop shop for anyone to go and get a sense of who is responsible for what in Auckland Council. You are required to publish this in the long-term plan and annual plan every year, so that's why we're here now, because you're approving the long-term plan next week. Now, we have reviewed, when we reviewed at this time, we did go out and ask local boards and also the governing body if there were any issues. It was a by exception review. Are there any issues that we could be looking at because we've been tweaking it over the years? And we reviewed that and took some recommendations to the Joint Governance Working Party. There were a handful of issues raised, but not all of them had to do with the policy. And to be fair on local boards, they also used the opportunity to raise issues that had to do more with implementation rather than, seeking a change in the policy on some of them. There is not a lot of change to the policy that you will see, not a lot of substantive change, and it is certainly not a suggestion that the issues raised were not legitimate and we're not being dismissive of it. A change to the policy is a solution, but it's not necessarily a solution to every problem. So we've identified during the review other things that we could be doing to help address or look into these issues that continue to come up. So one of the things is the interpretation. The policy is written at a high level, and often interpretation, people get a bit confused with that. So we've identified that we need to do some guidance notes that really flesh it out for new staff, new elected members, help them understand how to operationalize it. We've had requests for new delegations, and our advice there is that we need to pilot some of those first. We need to step through what that will look like at an operational level. Are there any fish hooks? What are the risks? And then we can feel comfortable recommending them. And then there's other issues where they are best addressed through sort of just little tweaks and improvements in our operational process. So that's what's in front of you today. I might just take the opportunity as well to address the issue of notification of resource consent. This was one of the issues that we canvassed. It is raised often. Now, we did, whilst there is no legal impediment to making a delegation, it is best practice, and it is our recommendation that the governing body has made the right delegation to leave this with staff. It is best practice that decisions are exercised by subject matter experts at arm's length from the politics, because these are technical and legal questions. So that's the advice that we have on that issue, and we've got staff here who could answer it if you have any further questions.
Thank you very much, Shirley. Can I just draw members of the governing body's attention to a change in recommendation 3, which originally had it going back to the planning committee and then coming back to this body. That just seemed to be a bit of a longer way of doing it. So I've had a discussion with the chair of the planning committee, and we agree that the staff should be reporting back to the governing body further on the implications of a standing delegation to approve area plans and how that could be achieved. I think the idea is that in many areas that might not be desirable, there may be some areas where it could be desirable, but that's the sort of report back we'd be looking to from staff. So I will open it up for questions, and we have the first question in the name of Councillor Wayne Walker.
Sure. So I've just got a question that goes to this matter of notification of resource consents. Obviously, we've heard from a local board. There may be some of the context around what they're bringing that has got merit. quite obviously checks and balances are important. There would still be the exercise of subject matter experts and no doubt advising a local board in that instance through a notification process. Is it worth looking at? And if so, what sort of resource would be required to examine this issue and report back to us?
Through your worship, we've got, Ian, I was wondering if you're able to address this one, but I guess our recommendation for today is that this is something you could take away if you are of the mind to sort of look into this further and have that discussion. Staff could look into that for you. I think it might be a lot of work. Do you want to come up, Ian? Yeah, because a delegation is something you can make at any time when you are comfortable, and we're not sure that that's something we're able to recommend today.
Kia ora tātou. So as I understand the question, it was more around undertaking a review as to whether notification decisions could be made by local boards and the effort that would take to undertake that review. The review itself probably could be accommodated within a reasonable time frame, and there would be resource available to undertake that. And given that's the question, I'll leave it there.
Thank you. I have no other questions. Are there any comments? Oh, sorry, question, Councillor Papacoon. Got to be quick. Got a big agenda to get through.
I just wanted to ask this as a question because the Hauraki Golf Forum submitted on this and it's not highlighted, I don't think, in the report. And I just wondered if that would be normal to bring that to everyone's attention. I mean, I think the outcome is good about not increasing the vessel speeds. And I think the concern of, well, what the Hauraki Golf Forum highlighted is that since we had a voluntary...
Sorry, I thought you talking about the navigation bylaw.
Oh, my jumping.
You're actually not behind me. You're ahead of me. That's the next item. sorry, Councillor. We'll keep in mind what you're saying for the next item. Councillor Linda Cooper.
Apologies.
I'm away.
Watching the cricket too last night. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With the issue 15 on the table, and in light of Mr. Churton's requests, I couldn't support any further involvement. I think that we've developed policies over the last 8 years since I've been here that increasingly takes elected people away from making resource consent decisions, which I think has been a forward step, a positive step in having impartial, independent, professional decisions made. We spent, I'm trying to think if it was in my second term, spent quite a lot of time with a working group of local board members and members of the, well, it might have even been in the first term, whether it was the hearings or regulatory committee, working out quite in favour of local boards at how they would like to be involved in this notification process, and we came to what we felt all was a good agreement. And so this is unravelling that. The other issue for me is that, you know, there's in the RMA there is a specific step-by-step process how notification is decided. And I think that all developers, be they big developers or an older couple who want to just subdivide something off the back of their section, they need some consistency to know that they can have faith in the process. And if you allow one local board to do it, in the end it'll be everybody. And I think we get actually to the point where we have inconsistency with decisions over 21 areas in Auckland. That's more than, I think, before 1989 amalgamation. And we were trying to get away from inconsistencies, and I think that people have got to have some sort of faith in the process that it will be assessed consistently. So I think what we're doing now, I think local boards have a chance to to actually give their views, and the way it was put out was as if...
Yeah, I know I can anticipate the point of order. This is sorry, I think I can anticipate it, but tell me if I'm wrong. Is that this is a comment? I was still on questions.
No, sorry, I thought you'd finished and there was just one more.
I recognise that, and but I think if rather than wind you back because you've made a substantive point, if I let you finish and we'll run comments and questions together. Was that your point of order, Councillor? Was that your point of order, Councillor?
It's a statement, not a question.
And that's what I've just commented on.
Yeah, there's been some confusion because I thought that Councillor Coombe was the last question. Sorry.
Councillor Walker, if I can answer Councillor Walker's point, because of the last intervention, perhaps there was some confusion about whether it was comment or question. You're quite right, it is a comment, and I've just said now that we'll run comments and questions together. Thank you. And if I can get you to
it wouldn't worry me if you
it.
went back to questions. It was just that it wasn't clear, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, and lost my train of thought now, but that's always a good thing, isn't it?
Further point of order, Councillor Walker.
I understand that, but if that is the case, it should be desirable for the officers to withdraw so that they're not...
That's fine. I'll stop and I'll start again later.
Yep.
You just carry on with questions. I'll just start all over again. That's fine with me.
Yeah, look, I chose, because of the level of confusion, I should have perhaps interrupted earlier, but I chose to allow Councillor Cooper to continue. I accept the point that you're making, Councillor Walker, but I think Councillor Cooper was substantially through her intervention, and we will go back to questions and we'll take that as a comment in advance rather than ask Councillor Cooper to repeat it all at a later point. So I'll just use my discretion to that effect. Councillor Cooper, if you'd like to continue and complete, please.
Okay.
Probably totally interrupted.
Yeah, but I think my point is made is that we have done very well in any challenges to our decisions in the past, judicial reviews of other RMA decisions that our either duty commissioners or senior staff have made. And the only one we've lost in recent times is one where the hearing committee, in my absence, made a majority decision to make something notified, and we got taken to court and lost, and it cost us a lot of money. So I don't want to go there again. I think it's too risky. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll revert first of all back to questions and then we'll take comments. Councillor Dalton. It was a comment too, so obviously I confused more than one person. So we'll move now to comments, and Councillor Angela Dalton.
Thank you very much. Look, I just wanted to thank Shirley and the team that continue to work on the decision making for local boards. We've still got a ways to go. We're chipping away at it, but we're getting closer all the time. I actually have some sympathy for what Mr. Churton is requesting in the role of local boards in their placemaking, and the local boards and what they get presented from the community when these plan changes come through. But I completely agree with Councillor Cooper that we need to understand the consequences of that and what that means. And so all of this comes back to a point I continue to make and will continue to make, is the quality of advice that is provided to the local boards in their decision making, so we can get the consistency across the region and let every local board area be their own unique place within Auckland, but ensuring they're delivering on the Auckland plan, unitary plan, and all of the policies that we have got out there that are actually quite controlling on them anyway. So I just want to continue to support the work that is happening through the Governance Review, Governance Framework Review Committee, and enable these boards to do what they are elected to do, remembering most boards are larger than a district council around the country. Quite a responsibility to ensure that they place making well for their patch within the Auckland city. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dalton. And now Deputy Mayor Cashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to support these resolutions as they are, simply because there's a lot of uncertainty coming our way. We're doing the UPS on urban development. We have the RMA reforms coming down at us with a fair degree of government direction as far as spatial planning is concerned. So the world may change and evolve beyond our control at this point, and we have to reset at that point in time. So I recommend we keep with business as usual, Mr Mayor, for the time being.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Henderson.
Thanks. The Deputy Mayor has said what I was just about to say, but I'd sort of just point out that also we've already done this kind of thing in a few other neighbourhoods. I understand in Te Atatu South we were involved in this kind of thing, almost an area plan. So it's not without precedent. But yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. I'm just really interested to see how it shakes down.
Thank you. If I just make the concluding comment on this, and it's in relation to the area plans. Currently, local boards are responsible for decision making in relation to non-regulatory activities that are allocated to them in relation to Section 17. I think the important qualification on that is Section 17B, which says that things ought not to be delegated where the impact of the decision extends beyond a single board, where effective decision-making requires alignment or integration of other decisions that are the responsibility of the governing board, and the need for to ensure we get the benefits of a consistent and coordinated approach. So I think Section 17 and 17B are a good response to the issue of area plans. Right, so the motion has been moved and seconded. I'll put it. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I declare that carried. We now come to item number 11.